Hello, I'm Jyotika. Welcome to Excelling Psychology. Today we have with us a set of predicted questions for biopsychology for AQA paper 2. This is for UK AQA syllabus, but in case you're doing Oxford AQA also, the same topics, same questions apply to your course. They might not be the predicted ones for this year, but it'll really help you to review your content if you go through this video. So I recommend this for all AQA students. Right at the beginning, I want to give a disclaimer. This is a predicted paper, not a guaranteed paper. So I will give you the logic behind why we're expecting these questions to come up. And as always, as I always do on my channel, I will focus on not making you memorize the answers, but giving you the techniques for answering various types of questions that come and helping you to think about the question so that no matter which questions come in the paper for biopsychology or otherwise, you'll be able to answer these type of questions in the paper. I just want to tell you we have nothing to lose here, right? Even if these questions don't end up coming in the paper exactly, maybe they are worded a little differently or they get rearranged a little, we get to do a full review in this paper, which is nevertheless very useful. So, taking this lesson is going to be helpful for you for your paper, either case, whether these questions turn up or not. Before we begin, I just want you to know that I am a school teacher and private tutor for A level psychology. I've been tutoring for more than 12 years now. So, if you need your private classes to be scheduled with me, my email ID and WhatsApp number are available in the description box and pinned comment below. I also sell notes for your course like model answers, past paper solutions. So, if you're looking for those, my store link is also available in the pinned comment and description box below. Okay, so having covered that, let's begin with the lesson and let's look at the first question. We have two MCQ questions at the beginning. So I will give you general tips on approaching MCQs and let's understand why we are expecting these questions. The first question is simply which part of the brain is primarily responsible for regulating biological rhythms? I'm sorry it's getting cut out a little on the screen, but this is for 1 mark as such. That's what's written in the brackets. Okay, now there are two ways you need to approach MCQs. Two strategies are there. You might find them unnecessarily lengthy when I'm saying how to go about it. But trust me, because I'm speaking out and I'm showing you on the screen, it's taking time. It barely takes a few seconds when you actually do it in your mind. So, one rule for MCQs is before looking at the response choices, do a run through in your mind of all possible concepts that are coming under the topic which is addressed in the question. Only then look at the response choices. Because what happens is when you look at the response choices directly, you get confused, which is the correct one. Once you've thought through the topic, you're sure, you're clear on which are the concepts that can come within it, then it just becomes a matter of matching. What is on your mind, you just have to see whether it's on the paper or not. And if it is not there, then you can think further. Unnecessarily, you don't confuse yourself. Second is use rule of elimination. After you're sure what the answer is, just do the rule of elimination to make sure that you're not choosing the wrong answer in any case. So this is after you are sure of what the right answer is, just for a second confirmation, you eliminate the other possibilities. Before we look at this specific question, why do we think that biological rhythms type of question will come in the paper? See, biological rhythms overall has always been a very important topic. Even if you see the 24 paper, it has been tested a lot. But in 25, it's just disappeared from the paper, like it's barely there. So that's why a topic that's that important, we don't expect it to get skipped twice in the paper. We expect that it'll come back heavy this time. So specific questions like this on the MCQ, as well as later we'll see, a little more detailed questions should also be coming up. That's why we're expecting it. Okay, so now how to approach this particular question. Before we write any answer, before we see the response choices, like I told you, we will run through in our mind which are the parts of the brain that can be responsible for biological rhythms. See, definitely hypothalamus. After all, it's the master of the master gland. So, anytime endocrine glands are into play, it's becoming about hormones. Hormones will induce sleeping states. Hypothalamus has to be involved in that. So, that's for sure. Next is the SCN, suprachiasmatic nucleus. which is doing the work of detecting whether light is coming into the eyes or not. So, is it daytime or nighttime? Very important part. And which in turn is linked to the pineal gland. So, suprachiasmatic nucleus sending messages to the pineal gland, accordingly, melatonin being regulated. So, these definitely we know are the brain parts which are involved in biological rhythms. You might also be thinking of reticular formation, which is correct. Any other such part coming to your mind is right. Right now, I've noted the main ones related to sleep wake cycle because they tend to be the most prominent. Once I've done this, once I've run through in my mind, now I will look at the response choices given in the paper. So let's look at them. Cerebellum, hypothalamus, medulla, occipital lobe. I'm already sure it's the hypothalamus because it's already on my list. Still, just to be doubly sure, I'll do the rule of elimination and then I will mark the final answer. So, all of this I'm doing in my mind. As I told you before, when we do it in our mind, it's very quick. Cerebellum is the motor regulator, it regulates voluntary movements. It's in the hindbrain, the lower part of the brain, which is in charge of motor functions. Definitely not involved in sleep wake. Medulla for involuntary functions, autonomic functions, again a part of the hindbrain, not responsible for sleeping because consciousness is in the upper brain, not in the hindbrain. Occipital lobe is for vision. So again, not to do with sleep and dream. So I can be sure, even through the rule of elimination, that hypothalamus is the correct answer here. Now in the paper, you get like that circle that you just have to shade for the right answer. But here that is not there, so I'm just writing below B. B is the correct answer. In the paper, you will just have to shade into the circle which is next to hypothalamus to get the correct answer. That's it. For an MCQ answer, you're not expected to explain or outline anything. Whatever thought process I've given you, that's just to think about it. It's not to be written in the paper. So you just have to mark the correct answer. That's all. Let's come to the next question too. That's also an MCQ. So we'll apply a similar thought process for that. Why are we expecting something on excitatory neurotransmitters? Because if you look at the 25 paper, synaptic transmission has come up, but it's come up at a very basic level. As you know, synaptic transmission is a very important topic, but they've just asked it very broadly, like the process of transmission. So we can expect a more specific question this time. In the process of synaptic transmission, some like particular aspect of it, like neurotransmitter exchange is the main thing in the process of transmission. So asking us about a specific type of neurotransmitter, we can definitely expect that. Okay, so again, what we will do first, we will run through in our mind a list of excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitters. So, which are some of the excitatory neurotransmitters we've learned about? I'm sure adrenaline, noradrenaline, fight or flight is coming to your mind first. Besides that, dopamine, glutamate, glutamate for muscle control, right? I'm sure many others are coming to your mind. Right now, these are the ones I can think of. Inhibitory, serotonin for mood regulation, GABA for anxiety regulation. Um, Melatonin might be coming to your mind, but it's a hormone. Why it might be coming to your mind? Because it's on the paper. And in the previous question, we were seeing about melatonin, but it's a hormone. It's not a neurotransmitter. So it won't qualify here. So these are some of the neurotransmitters coming to your mind. It might be that you've forgotten some. Even I'm feeling maybe I've forgotten some right now. So it's okay. But still having that list available is helpful because somewhere you will be able to match what is given with your list. Or when you look at it, you'll realize that yes, this is aligned with the remaining that I've thought about. Okay, so we have run through it. Now we look at the response choices. A, B, C, D, GABA, serotonin, glutamate, melatonin. Out of these, we have already listed glutamate. So we're pretty sure this is the right answer. But before we finalize it, we will just do the rule of elimination. Why not GABA? It's certainly inhibitory. It prevents over arousal in the brain, so it's definitely not excitatory. Serotonin is inhibitory, it regulates mood, definitely not excitatory. Melatonin is a hormone, it's not a neurotransmitter to begin with, so it cannot be the right answer. So, having eliminated the other possibilities, we are now sure that Glutamate is the right answer. So we just need to mark it. That's all. Okay, so that's about the MCQs. Now let's come towards short answers. Okay, coming to one way of studying the brain, in my experience, students are often confused when they see this question. I don't know why. You should know way of studying the brain simply means technique. So if you're not clear on what they mean by way of studying the brain, they simply mean give one technique which is used for brain scanning. See, these type of things should not be an issue ideally. You should have read the names of topics and subtopics in your textbook and syllabus as such that you don't get confused. So in your textbook, whichever textbook you're referring to, clearly the heading is ways of studying the brain, under which you learn about techniques like postmortem, EEG, ERP, fMRI. Okay, so definitely they are talking about one of those ways. Before I talk to you about the answer structure and content, why are we expecting this question in the paper? In the 2025 paper, it did not appear as a direct question. Like indirectly, they asked about how to apply fMRI. If you've seen that paper, you must be remembering this question. Now, because it's come in an application already and it's an important but not as important as for like essay question, we expect that now it should come off straightforward, a descriptive question instead of an application one, because they're unlikely to repeat in the application format only the same topic again and again. So by that logic, we expect some straightforward question, and this is one possible one. For 4 marks, a descriptive like explain one we can pretty much expect. Okay, now coming to how to approach this specific question. Look at the command term. You know, in these type of questions, one way, one technique, command term becomes very important. I'll just tell you why. Because if it is explain, they want to know the process. Why or how does it work? That is what they want to know. If it was describe, they would just want to know all aspects of the technique we are using. Like I'll give you a quick example before we write. Supposing we take postmortem as the way of studying the brain we want to discuss. Now, if it is an explain question, we have to show the process of postmortem. Like the individual dies, their brain is removed, then the tissue is put under a microscope and it is studied. So here I'm explaining like how postmortem goes about. But if they just tell me describe postmortem, then I don't need to explain like a step by step procedure of how it is done. I can just talk about various aspects of it, including examples. So what it means after death, examining the brain, giving some example like this is what Broca did in the case of Tan, even giving some aspect of it that's very useful, like it involves direct examination of the tissue. Perhaps I can compare it with some other method also, like as compared to MRI or PET, which look at the living brain. This one looks at the dead brain, but it's a direct examination that way. So there I would be just talking about the features, examples, some comparisons. But when it's explained, it's about the process. This might seem like a fine technicality to you, but trust me, this is where students lose marks and they don't understand why they have lost mark. This is that type of question. Students feel I wrote the answer. I gave example also. I uh, gave comparison also with other methods. Still, I did not get marks because you ended up describing when they wanted you to explain the process of how it works. Okay, so here do note the command term to get your full marks. Secondly, note the marks allotted. That is unconditional. No matter what the command term is, what the question is. If it is for 4 marks, you have to give 4 points. You just have to do that. Okay, so it cannot be shorter than this. Some students they just end up writing 1 or 2 lines, which like 1 or 2 points. Definitely you're not getting credit for that. Some students end up writing very excessively as if it's an essay answer, then that's a waste of time. Remember, you have 4 minutes for 4 marks, so time is also very short, so maintain a good balance. Write as much as is needed by the question. Don't write more, but don't write less also. Okay, so now to take a different example from postmortem, the preferred one because students know about it better, I'm taking fMRI as such for my answer. And I won't be able to write the whole answer right now. It'll be too time consuming. I don't have that much time in this video. but I will give you like a detailed outline of what to write. If you want to see full answer writing, there are lots of videos on my channel in which I've covered past papers or specific type of questions. There I have written entire answers. I've put entire answers on the screen and discussed them. So definitely you can take a look there. Right now I'll just give you an outline and show you how you can develop. Orally I'll tell you how you can develop it. See, if I'm talking about fMRI, I'm explaining how it works. In the process of it, my first point should be about detecting change in oxygen in the brain. And please start away straight off. Like you see, my very first point itself is highly focused. Since you're beating around the bush about generally what are ways of studying the brain, why it is needed to study the brain, you're not getting any credit for that. Or giving some example of some study in which fMRI was done, you're not getting any credit for that. Be very focused. Right from the beginning, start explaining how it works. Okay, so this can be the first point. Second point can be about literally how it is done, like what is the process. So the individual whose brain has to be scanned has to lie in the scanner. There's this white big scanner in which the person has to lie. Okay, and what they have to do in the scanner, they will have to perform some activity. After all, it's a functional technique, right? So they have to be doing some activity. We want to see how their brain is working as they're engaging in something. Then to explain now what the scanner is doing, how the scanner is coming to know which part of the brain is active. Blood flow is going to increase to that part of the brain which is active. And what further the scanner will do is take the images of the brain where the blood flow is increasing and output it on a computer. So these changes are recorded and images are produced on a computer. Okay, so a quick recap what I've done, like how I've structured it. I have begun directly with what is the principle of working. It's going to detect oxygen changes because it's explained. Then I've explained exactly what is done. The person whose brain has to be examined lies in the scanner, they engage in some activity. The scanner keeps taking images of their brain, and whichever parts are engaged when the person is doing activity, those images are output on a computer. Okay, you could have a different style of writing. You might talk about how the brain which is active tends to consume more oxygen, that's why it requires much blood flow. I just feel it takes away the focus from the process of fMRI. It becomes more about the principle on which the fMRI is working, like it becomes a discussion of that principle. So I believe the focus should be on how a process more than anything else. If like thinking about process is difficult for you, think about step by step you are explaining what happens when a person undergoes fMRI. What is the sequence of events which happens in it? That is what you need to explain here. How it would be different if it was a describe question, then I could explain the bold principle, how brain areas which are more active require more oxygen which they draw from blood. I could give some example of a study in which fMRI is done, maybe like the schizophrenia study. I think it was Allen et al., maybe that one. Then I could give a contrast, maybe fMRI compared to MRI, where MRI is structural, fMRI is functional. If I was to write all of that here, I would lose marks because it does not explain fMRI, it just keeps on bringing about different aspects of it. So that is why I have written the answer this way. And what I was telling you about 4 marks, 4 points, you can see 4 very focused points. I'll be easily able to cover in 4 minutes if I'm writing the full paragraph in the paper. I won't need more time, and it's not less also, it's not just like 2 points which is not sufficient for 4 marks. It's a detailed explanation. Okay, let's come to the next question now. One function of the endocrine system using an example of a hormone. Okay, firstly, why do we expect this question to be seen in the paper? Last year in 25, endocrine system was a 4-mark question. This time we don't expect a 4-mark again. Like we don't expect that much of weightage to be given again. So we can expect it to come back as a shorter question. See, they want to cover as many areas as possible of biopsychology. So definitely they would like to touch upon everything. So far in the paper, there's nothing about hormones. So we do expect something to come about hormones. But just because it's come for a little lengthy question last time, we expect this time it will come shorter. So that's the logic for why we expect this. Now, how to answer this type of a question? Think of it as a mini 4-marker. What we've seen in the previous question, much of that applies here. It's for 2 marks, we will aim for 2 points. It's very straightforward. In fact, I can't tell you this is so easy to score. It's very difficult to make a mistake on this. They want one function of endocrine system. It's only for 2 marks, so definitely 1 mark is being dedicated here. Function meaning what work it does. So 1 mark just to say in one sentence what is the work of endocrine system. And then they've asked for an example also, so 1 mark is only left. So definitely the example is worth 1 mark. Like it can't get easier than this. You just have to give 1 point on how it functions and 1 point on any hormone. The only place where students can lose a mark is they just name the hormone. Like let's say melatonin is coming to your mind. So they'll write the function of endocrine system, then they'll say, for example, melatonin. They want you to explain the function using an example of a hormone. Means they want you to tell the function of that hormone also. They don't want you to just name a hormone, otherwise they would have said and name or and identify one hormone. That's not the way it is phrased. It is phrased as, illustrate how the endocrine system functions using the example of an hormone. So make sure whichever hormone you name, like supposing you're naming melatonin, you describe what is its function. Its function is to induce sleep in the individual. So you could put it as something when it increases, an individual feels sleepy, or when it is nighttime, it increases, so the person feels like sleeping, anything like that. But make sure describing its function. Again, I'll just put down detailed pointers for you. Okay, so my first point would simply be function of endocrine system, which is releasing hormones. For what purpose? To regulate body functions. Again, don't deviate when you're writing. Stay focused on what's asked. Don't start describing they flow in the bloodstream. They are different from neurotransmitters which get directly absorbed. That all becomes irrelevant. They just want to know function. So, what is the purpose of endocrine system? To release hormones so that body functions can be managed. That's all. What more can we write for 1 mark, right? Okay. Then to give an example, we can give the melatonin example. We can give, in fact, adrenaline example. Adrenaline is a neurohormone. It's a neurotransmitter also and a hormone also. After all, it is released by adrenal glands. Because students are so familiar with adrenaline because of the whole fight or flight thing, I like to take that example. So, for example, adrenaline, what function it does? Prepares the body for fight or flight in stress response. Did I just name adrenaline or did I just write, oh, it's secreted by adrenal glands? No, I gave the function. Just note that. It prepares the body for fight or flight in the stress response. This is its function. Okay, so that's another easy 2 marks. Now let's come to two important essay type of questions. The first one's again from biological rhythm. I don't think I need to explain to you why we're expecting this. In the beginning, I've already told you this is a very important topic and we can expect it fairly at length this time. So besides that MCQ, we can expect it to be given 1 more mark here. I'm sorry, 1 mark there and more marks here. Okay, let me just take it on the next page, otherwise it'll break. Okay, now let's read the question. Ria recently moved from Mumbai in India to New York in the USA for university. Since arriving, she finds herself awake at night and extremely tired during the day. She also feels less alert in the morning classes and struggles to concentrate. Explain how biological rhythms are affecting Ria's behavior. Refer to the scenario in your answer. This is a full essay question. Students remain very confused about this. If you need clarity on breakup of essay questions, how many marks for AO1, AO2, I've covered that in a lot of videos on my channel. So hopefully you're not confused about these things. See, if it's 8 marker and it's explain and refer to this scenario and all, they want AO1, AO2, AO3. They might even put it as discuss or evaluate. So AO1 here, like just know 8 marker means AO1, AO2 and AO3. Okay, so AO1 here is worth 4 marks. I'm sorry, 3 marks. AO2 is worth 2 marks and AO3 is worth another 3 marks. Just think of it as you half the marks if this would have come for 16 marker. So if the same question would have come for 16 marks, AO1 would be 6, AO2 would be 4, AO3 would be 6, half all of that. And this is what you get. So this is the easiest way of remembering. Now what you have to do is the question is on biological rhythms. Think about 70 to 75 words, at least like 4 to 5 sentences that you can give about description, whatever you've learned from the textbook. For biological rhythms, of course, making it relevant to what is asked here. It's about the sleep wake cycle. It's not about, say, a biological rhythm like menstrual cycle. So don't write something irrelevant. AO2 is for 2 marks. So think about application. At least 3 sentences, 4 sentences, like about, say, 50 words that you can use whatever you're writing in AO1 to explain what Ria is behaving. Most important, like I always tell you, for AO2 is to cover everything that's given in the scenario. So more than counting the words or the sentences that you're writing, make sure you explain all of this that's described here and you'll be covered. AO3, evaluation. Only 3 marks, one strength or one weakness suffices. So one strength or one weakness of biological rhythm. If you can apply it to Ria, situation good, though not compulsory. And don't give more than 1 point, I would say, because it becomes unnecessary, like it becomes too much to justify 3 marks. More than this, how to go about writing essay answers, I don't have the time to discuss, so I'm going to get straight off into the outline. If you need to see how to write essay answers, lots of other videos are available on my channel. So let's see what we can put under AO1. Simple description of biological rhythms. So what all we can cover? Circadian rhythm. Sleep wake is circadian rhythm, so we should begin with that. Here we are talking about Ria's sleep wake, so that is relevant. Whenever scenario question comes, becomes important to be relevant to the stimulus in all AO1, AO2 and AO3. So circadian rhythms are exactly 24 hours. Most prominent example of circadian is sleep wake cycle, controlled by SCN suprachiasmatic nucleus, which controls pineal gland, which regulates melatonin. So all those things you can describe here. You can talk about exogenous Zeitgeber. SCN is in the hypothalamus. You can mention that. You can talk about sunlight, the exogenous Zeitgeber that controls the sleep-wake cycle. Right? All those things can come in AO1. Coming to AO2, applying it to Ria's situation. I know many of you would be thinking about phase delay, phase advance, because they have suggested that she's going from like India to USA. So you're thinking about, okay, she's traveling westward and all. You can include that, but for just 2 marks, not required as such. It might complicate and you might have to bring in lot of things under AO1, AO2. So I'm avoiding that. Ria is traveling westward as such, it's phase delay. If you want to discuss that at all, Otherwise, simply without using the word phase delay, also you can say her body clock or her circadian rhythm is having to shift westward or shift to a different time zone. You don't need to use terms related to phase delay at all. Mark schemes are very flexible in marking as long as your reasoning points you're giving is correct. It's not that you have to only use some specific terms. So she has to shift to a different time zone. Basically, her body clock is not aligned with it. It is still in her previous time zone, at least initially. You can explain that. And that is why all these symptoms are coming up, because her body clock is telling her that it is morning when it is night in the USA. It is telling her it is night when it is morning there. So that is why she feels awake at night. She feels tired during the morning classes, all that they have given in the scenario. Make sure always to use wording from the scenario. I'm just making an outline, so I've not written everything. But make sure you keep on talking about the symptoms Ria is having. Use that wording. Awake at night, irritated during the classes. Whatever they have written there, keep on mentioning that and linking it to what you're writing. Again, for any example of this, you can see other videos on my channel. And then AO3, I would just give a weakness because I feel that is best linked to Ria's situation. Like we are assuming it is because of phase delay or because of disruption in circadian rhythm that she's showing these symptoms, but other alternative explanations are there. Because if we look at the situation, she's starting university. That is what is mentioned, right? So she might be stressed out because of that. Stress is also known to cause problems like not being able to sleep, staying awake. Other possibilities also that you can give examples like maybe she uses her laptop at night to talk to her family, which is in India, so that screen light makes it difficult for her to sleep. Her meal timings must be changing. So these explanations can also suggest why she's finding it difficult to adapt. It might not be only about the biological rhythms. In fact, it might not be about the biological rhythms at all. So such possibilities are there. It is not compulsory to link back to the situation in AO3. You can give any other strength or weakness, any research that has been done in this area. Those fMRI studies are there, SEAF studies, there, the cave study, the World War II bunker study, anything you can give. And you need not link it back to Ria, or you can just say it makes the explanation more valid for Ria's case. You can give a simple link back like that. But I felt that this way of writing AO3 is very integrated to like what is asked. That's why I have put it this way. So I hope this gives you an idea on how you can answer this question if it comes. Let's look at the last question. That's a very straightforward 8 marker. Like more straightforward than this. Again, I'll just post it on a new page. If you want these outlines and all, I won't be posting on my website. You can just take screenshots. So this is the first page. This is the second page. And now I'm putting up the third page. Oh, the whole thing has come here. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay. This is again an 8 marker. And why we are expecting this in the paper, like localization, again, it's a very important topic. And if we look at the 25 paper, they only asked lateralization. They did not ask specifically localization. So that's a major gap. Like localization, lateralization are such important topics. They are combined more or less in the syllabus, and then asking only lateralization and not asking localization at all for 2 years in a row. That seems very unlikely. Also, given that it's a proper evaluation topic. Otherwise, mostly in biopsych, we have AO1 topics without any AO3. Lateralization, localization, biological rhythms, these are topics where we actually have AO3 also, evaluation also ways of studying the brain. So we expect those only to end up in 8 markers. So given all of this, we expect localization to come. Now why it is more straightforward than the previous? Because the breakup is simply AO1 is 3 marks, I'm sorry, and AO3 is 5 marks. So we don't have to apply to any situation, we strictly have to give a description of like 70-75 words, just like the previous. AO3 this time we can give 2 points, like preferably one strength, one weakness, otherwise two strengths, two weaknesses without needing to apply it to any scenario. That's all. And definitely, whenever you write AO3, do follow the peel format. Today, I'm not getting into it. I get into it a lot in most of my videos. So, you can watch any previous video to see how to write fully developed AO3 points. When I say 2 points, for example, I don't mean like just quickly get done with it. Of course, I mean every point has to be fully peel elaborated, then only you'll get full marks. So, let's consider what all we can cover in AO1 for a localization question. Definition we should begin with. So it is simply the theory which suggests that specific functions or behaviors can be attributed to specific areas of the brain. Example, very easy. Motor cortex is responsible for movements in the body. It's located in the frontal lobe. Somatosensory cortex is responsible for like perceiving touch sensations. It is located in the parietal lobe, things like that. You could also give something like strict localization versus equal equipotentiality. So initially the view was that strictly only one part of the brain can regulate one sort of behavior. But today the belief is that multiple areas might be contributing to the same behavior, though some might be contributing more than others. So you could write about that, any other things that you have learned about localization. It's just like 70-75 words you have to cover here, so this much should be enough. You can give any example study also, though I'm reserving the study for AO3, but if you want to give one study here and then you want to critically analyze that study for AO3, or instead you want to give another study for AO3, there are a lot of possibilities of what you can cover. Now coming to AO3. For a simple strength, definitely research evidence. And for me, the most prominent one is the case of TAN. So for peel format, I have to completely elaborate. This is my point that there is research evidence. Then I need to elaborate what was the case of TAN. So Lamborn, who could only say the word TAN, was investigated by Broca. Doing a post-mortem, he found that one area in his left frontal lobe was damaged and he termed it Broca's area. Then I need to explain why this is a strength. It's a classic study which supports localization like from such earlier times. Can also add to this that further studies today with fMRI have reconfirmed these findings. Today, without having to do postmortem in the living brain, only it is found that when people are doing speech related functions, it is indeed the Broca's area which is active. So today we can't even say that it was a case study, so it's not generalizable. The findings have been replicated many times. So link being that it increases the validity of the localization theory. Then I would give a weakness. I like to maintain a balance, strength and weakness, but you can give both points in a similar tone. Here also Lashley's study I feel is the best point that contradicts localization. Contradictory evidence. He showed in his rat study that no matter which part of their brain he damaged, they were unable to solve the maze in which he had put them. In the cortex, he damaged the parts of their brain. Why this contradicts localization view? According to localization view, some specific part of the brain should be responsible for some specific function. So how is it that if any part of the brain is being destroyed and not only one specific part of the brain, still the individual is not able to do a task? So what we can link off is by saying this reduces the validity of localization theory because we are not sure whether localization really applies or not, or it might be it applies only in some cases, like say speech production. It is true that there is localization, There is a Broca's area, but in other functions like problem solving, visuospatial tasks like maze solving, maybe there is nothing like localization. Okay, so this is a very simple outline that you can follow if a question on localization comes. You can take a screenshot of this if you need to. Okay, so hopefully in coming videos in the same way I should be able to cover other sections for predicteds. And if you have any feedback on these videos that I'm making, you can leave them in the comments box below. Please do not personally message me for any comments or inquiries about the videos. I will not be able to answer you in person for these things. Okay, so I hope to see you again soon. And that is all for today. Goodbye.